Good morning, this is Dan from Meraki. Here is a very flaky and beautiful pie crust, great for sweet or savory pies, and I have some great fillings coming up. Guys, enjoy this recipe. We will need 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, half a cup of butter chilled, a pinch of salt, and about a 1/6 to 1/8 cup of iced water. So this is a fairly easy recipe. First thing we're going to do is add our butter, our flour, and our salt to a bowl. So what we want to do is we want to break down the butter, mixing it with the flour to the consistency of half a pea sized. It will almost look grainy, kind of like sand. As you can see, this can take a little bit of time, but keep at it. So I'm just going to speed up the video, and it looks like I'm doing it really quick. There we go. Now we're done. You can just run it through your hands and you'll see it'll be very sandy. And that's the consistency we want. So there. Now the next step we're going to do is we're going to start adding our water. Start by only adding half. Give it a mix, and if it needs a tiny bit more water before it comes together, add it slowly, maybe about a tablespoon at a time. As you can see here, it's not coming together, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit more water and it should be perfect. Once it's come together, we can crush it into a ball and bring it to our tabletop. So the trick to a flaky crust is not overworking it. I just happened to overwork this one a little more than it needed to, but we can also add a tiny bit of vinegar, which will help stunt the gluten development. Once shaped into a disc, we are going to put it into a plastic bag, and we're going to put it in the fridge for about 45 minutes to an hour. Once we're ready and that hour is done, we're going to lightly flour our countertop, and we're going to lightly flour the top of our dough, and we can even do a rolling pin. And we are going to roll it out in one direction at a time. At first, it's going to be really difficult. The dough is going to be really cold and contracted, so it's going to be hard to roll at first. But after a few rolls, it will start going. Roll, spin, roll, spin, roll, spin to achieve the size that you want. You want roughly 2 inches larger than our pan or mold on each side. Flour your rolling pin because shit like this will make you furious. Flour it. Now, once it's rolled out, we can put our pan down on the top and measure, and that should be a good size. We're going to roll the dough over our rolling pin, and then we're just going to drape it over our pan, and we can move it based on how much room we need on each side. So now, if you do not have a very good non-stick pie pan, I'm going to suggest that you butter generously the mold that you do have and give it a sprinkle with some flour. Or you're just going to have a crumbly mess on your hands and no pie to show for it, and it'll be a really sad day for you. This step, we're not really pushing the dough into the pan. What we're doing is just molding it, making sure that it's fitting nicely. That's it. Now it's time to trim the excess dough from our pie tray. We're going to take a pair of kitchen shears and run it along the diameter of our pie mold. We can take the scraps and we can push down the inside of the pie tray. Instead of doing it with our fingers, which would leave indents, using a piece of the scraps would make sure that it's evenly pushed down. Now what we're going to do is take that leftover pie lip and we're going to fold it up on itself. If there are some parts that are too long, don't be afraid to cut them off a little more. No problem. Now we could just leave it flat, or we can, with our fingers, just make some little indents into the pie. I'm going to clean this up a little off camera just because it's a little difficult to reach over to the center of the island. But there you go. Rest for 1 hour before you cook, and you have a beautiful flaky pie crust.